So in this chapter, we'll be discussing about strikes by bank employees. So usually you'll come across instance, you might have already come across instances where banks go on strike. So on those days, banks will be closed. Okay, these are not working holidays like Sundays or public holidays, but in the working days normally they go on strike. So you might have come across these situations, bank strikes, and it's a big event because banks will be closed and you can't do any financial transactions. ATMs don't get loaded. So you have to be aware of what are the issues that currently bank employees are doing strikes for. There are some issues usually during a particular period. This is the most important issue. So at the time of your bank entries, you should know what are the current issues that are troubling the bank employees and the issues they are going for strike. Okay. So presently the issues that are most common for bank strike are protest against privatization. So a lot of public sector banks employees are apprehensive that government is going to privatize the bank. So they're protesting against privatization. They're protesting against merger of public sector banks. Okay, so the consolidation, which we'll discuss in a later chapter. So that is on the radar of the government policy. Government is trying to merge public sector banks. So this will reduce the public sector banks to around 10 to 15. Right now we have a lot of close to 30, right? 27 or something. So if they merge, through mergers, the number of banks will come down and there'll be closure of some branches. So there might be retrenchment. So that's why bank employees are protesting this. One of the other issues is a demand not to write off non-performing assets and that willful defaulter be declared a criminal offense. There's a demand that employees should not be penalized for corporate default. Okay, so what's happening is like when a loan turns NPA, if it's a big value account, so the person who has priced the loan, who has sanctioned, and there's a lot of staff accountability studies. Sometimes CBI cases are also coming up. So there's a demand by the employees that the employee should not be penalized for corporate default. See, as long as it's not fraudulent intention. Okay, so as part of a normal banking process, there is a risk involved. So employees are demanding that they should not be penalized for corporate default. There's also protest against the government's proposed reforms in the banking sector. There are a lot of reforms on the radar. So those are also one of the issue. And the protest against inadequate capital support for banks. So we discussed earlier that banks need capital to comply to Basel norms and to expand their market. So unions are demanding adequate capital support instead of raising funds from private players. Because if the funds are raised from private players, then the government stake will get diluted. So in public sector banks, usually this unionism is more. But all banks come under a common union. There are 9 unions under the aegis of the United Forum of Bank Unions. Okay, so this is the union. Not know about UFBU in detail, but just for information. So in this chapter, the questions to be prepared are what are the main issues currently on which bank employees are going on strike. Okay, and they might ask you what are your views on strikes by bank employees. So obviously, because the top management, senior cadre will be doing the interview, so it would be better if you say that's not correct because common citizens will be affected. You can also articulate your answer well and say your support of privatization in support of bank strikes on particular issues if you can articulate them well. But otherwise, it's better to play a safe hand.